The United Nations will face many of the same diplomatic challenges in 2010 that it's been dealing with over the last 12 months. Up to the minutes, Frank Ucciardo has the latest update for us now on what will top the UN agenda in the near future. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Michelle. I talked to some of the key players on the United Nations Security Council about some of the unresolved problems they've been struggling with, what the world body will face in the new year, and where they stand on the issues.
Should Iran continue to fail to meet its obligations, the international community will have to consider further actions.
You will see in the first couple of months of next year that the UN Security Council will be looking at tougher sanctions against Iran.
The issue of Iran's nuclear ambitions remains unresolved, and this has key UN Security Council members calling for more sanctions because they believe Iran's intentions go beyond providing energy.
In the beginning of 2010, for the French, I think we should go to the sanctions track.
Last week, President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad dismissed the year-end deadline set by the U.S. and Western allies to accept a UN deal for Iran to exchange uranium for nuclear fuel. And their recent test firing of a long-range missile in mid-December will further increase the resolve of UN Security Council members who want to punish Tehran.
What we are trying to do is to demonstrate in a public way their isolation, and to show them that if they are not prepared to cooperate with a very generous offer, then there will be some pain inflicted upon them.
But China and Russia, both veto holders on the Security Council, may block further sanctions.
We have been through 5 resolutions on Iran. One warning resolution, 3 sanctions resolutions, and the 5th resolution reiterating the previous resolution. So it's not something extraordinary for the Security Council to consider a sanctions resolution on the Iranian nuclear issue.
Has any of it worked?
Well, you know, it has been, it hasn't worked, unfortunately.
Nuclear nonproliferation is the hot-button issue as the U.S. dispatched an envoy to North Korea hoping to bring them back to the negotiating table.
I found that the talks were quite positive. The atmosphere in particular was very matter-of-fact, very businesslike. In particular, they accepted the importance of the six-party process.
Stephen Bosworth also delivered a letter from President Barack Obama to North Korean leader Kim Jong-il, but would not discuss its contents.
We saw the results of the U.S. envoy's visit there. If this allows a resumption of the talks, then we shall be extremely pleased. So far, it does not appear to have had a breakthrough that we might have liked.
And as the U.S. expands its footprint in Afghanistan with a surge of another 30,000 troops, it's also expecting help from other countries.
I think that in 2010, Afghanistan is probably going to be one of the highest issues on the international agenda, including the agenda of the Security Council.
We ourselves have been directly victims of bombing attacks from Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda organized these attacks from Afghanistan. That is why we are there.
An international conference on Afghanistan will be held in London on January 28th. It will focus on 5 key areas:
security, governance, reconciliation and reintegration, economic and social development, and then the regional cooperation between the regional players.
The two-state solution of Israel and Palestine in the Middle East may not be any closer to being resolved than it was a year ago.
The situation in the Middle East is very troubling in terms of a stalemate and lack of negotiations there. And we'll know what happens in the Middle East when there is no prospect for a negotiated outcome.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered a freeze on settlement building in a gesture to Washington to help restart peace talks with the Palestinians. However, Palestinian leaders refused to resume negotiations, saying temporary moratoriums don't go far enough. Would you agree with the assessment that the longer this goes on, the more dangerous it becomes?
The longer Israel continues to build settlements in the West Bank, the more difficult it becomes to envisage a united Palestinian state. So I think it is very dangerous. This issue really does need to be resolved in the coming months.
It's been said that diplomacy is war by other means, and it remains to be seen whether the UN is allowed by its key member states to win that war in 2010. Michelle?
All right. Frank Ucciardo. Frank, thanks so much.